Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump. It's Friday, May 29th. I'm your host, Jose Galison, and this is the kitty of the day, Katniss. She's a little lady. She's one of our newest queens of our cattery. She'll be a mama when she gets older. She's still very young, but we kept her for breeding purposes. You guys may remember the Katniss name. We had another tabby named Katniss from a litter or two ago, and my daughter just liked the name so much that we reused it. She really liked the Hunger Games movie. So this is Katniss, our little chocolate torty lady. She will be a mama much later, probably about another year or so. I forget exactly how old it is before we start breeding them, but at least a year before she'll be making babies. But she's a pretty little lady. Now, if you like seeing my hot takes Monday through Friday, typically around 11 a.m. Eastern, or if you just like seeing the kitties of the day, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications. That way you can see when we're dropping new videos and we're going live. We're not always on time, so it helps you out quite a bit if you sign up for notifications. With that, guys, we'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day. I am alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to the white light.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a good one. We have plenty to get through today. We'll, as always, we'll start the show off with something a little bit more in the Gen Pop sort of milieu. We call that our Icebreaker Content. And then we will get into, after that, into our foreign policy coverage, our foreign policy roundup, as we call it. And then we'll get into the first name segment of the day, Israel's Epstein class. That'll be a beefy segment. Got quite a few things in there for us. And then we'll get into what the fuck is going on with Hasan Piker. Got a few videos, clips for us to go through together as we can parse what the fuck is going on with the state of the left and seemingly the establishment's obsession with Hasan Piker. And it'll give me an excuse to, finally talk about some Epstein files relating to Mamdani. So, hey, a little bit of a hard segue in there, kind of ham-fisted, but whatever. I was looking for an excuse. We found it. And I kind of want to check in on what the hell's going on with the Hasan thing. It looks like a little bit of hilarious hypocrisy, considering we did. I think what he's getting in trouble for is what we joked about when we talked about Nick Shirley going to Cuba a while ago and what the sort of things he could have gotten in trouble for. It looks like they're going after Hasan. So all that and more. And as always, I do like to remind you guys what this is, the format. This is an info dump show. So if you're expecting some highly produced something or other with well thought out opinions and we've gone over these specific things, no, this is on the fly most of the time. I mean, sometimes we cover some old stuff that I've gone over numerous times, but most of the time it's kind of cutting edge stuff. It's an info dump. We're bringing in a bunch of information. We're processing it together. It's also a live stream. It's a live stream, an interactive sort of experience. So, but I know a lot of people. I put it out on multiple formats, and a lot of people like to listen to it on different formats. Like to listen it back on the podcast, or they may even just like to listen back later, and they don't want to have to deal with like the typical live experience of the chats back and forth. I get that. We save our chat discourse typically to the end of each segment, and I also timestamp my segments. So that way, if you are someone listening back and you hear us interact in the chat and you're like, what is this mindless nonsense? I can't even see what they're talking about. I don't see the chats. Hey, just go down to your video or podcast description and kind of expand it, bring that sucker up. You'll see all the different timestamps. Most of the platforms these days give you a hyperlink, and then boom, just pop right on over to it. And wingo. Damn, I don't know what expression I was thinking of there. But and you go bing bang boom, you got it. You're good. You're past it. You don't have to listen to the chat. Now, for people here for the live stream experience, I do like to let you guys know I do try to give everyone at least one obligatory good morning. You get one in there, and then after that, you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet. You can super chat if you would like. But yeah, with that, guys, I feel like I'm forgetting something, but whatever. Let's get into it. Let's get into some icebreaker content. Am I sounding good? Is everything coming over? I got a weird echo on my end that I don't normally have. So I don't know if it's just me being off, but I haven't seen any complaints in the chat, so I think we're good. But with that, let's go ahead and get into some icebreaker content. Starting off, what do we got? We got this gem from RFK. There was a recent meeting in the White House cabinet room. We see Marco Rubio here, RFK, Trump, Hegseth, Lutnick, and so not exactly sure what the specific reason for the meeting was here, but we do have a gem from RFK. RFK wanted to contribute to the conversation, and this is his contribution to this assembly of heads of cabinet and other important members of the Trump administration. So let's see, what did RFK have to contribute to this conversation of what all the Trump lackeys are currently working on in their given sectors. So let's watch this.
Yeah, there's many other confirmation studies. There's 2 studies that showed children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism. And it's highly likely because they're given Tylenol. So, none of this is positive, but all of it is stuff that we should be paying attention to.
Yeah. But, there's a tremendous amount of proof or evidence, I would say, as a non-doctor, but I've studied this a long time ago.
What the fuck is this dude studying? I guess Trump's out here studying baby weans. Okay. It's quite impressive to see somebody connect the memes of autism and, I want my foreskin back, but leave it to RFK to connect the two. So, hey, don't stop snipping your kids. I am take a deep look at me, say, hey, what is this what I want for my child? And don't snip his wiener, because the autism will be a coming. You're only making it all the more likely. Although it is a little bit weird that their reasoning is because when they took Tylenol or whatever, you were like, which, sure, maybe there is a link there. I mean, maybe the argument is because it's like such a young age. It's more, but that still that doesn't make much sense to me. But somebody's upset. Sorry, her cat. My bad. But all right, moving on to other historic occurrences in the White House, as opposed to connecting autism and circumcision. That way we all know the evils of it. Apparently, here in a couple of weeks, we have the White House card, the White House UFC card coming up here soon. Here's a picture of the construction occurring. I'd been really thinking for a while when I first heard this was going to be happening. I really was like that. This is going to kind of be this idea that somebody has and that falls through, and you're like, oh, we couldn't because of X, Y, Z. All the excuses are coming. It looks like they're really going for it. I know Rogan said many a times, kind of, he's kind of thrown out his opinion on why this is an awful idea, and I tend to agree. Obviously this is outside. It's going to be probably around 100-degree weather. This is going to be June 14th when they're doing these fights outside. I mean, maybe they'll figure out some sort of air conditioning system. I don't think they're actually. I think this is like an outside thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll figure out all these logistical issues, but it just seems. And then obviously you have the security issues. We've had at least, I think, 2 White House specific attacks. It's not even including the attacks on Trump's life. Or the attempts on his life. So, like, I mean, or the correspondence dinner, for example, like another one. So, I don't know. We'll see how this goes. We'll see if this goes. It seems kind of like a perfect, like, if I were crafting a PSYOP, this would be kind of like and if that was then turning it into some sort of feature length film, this would be like the tippy top, like the final act. Like there'd be something crazy happens at this event. Like this would be, or I guess it could be the psyop that precedes the whole thing, and then you're kind of figuring out what happened, who done it, who did whatever at the UFC event. But either way, this seems like this could easily be some sort of touchstone moment if something happens here. Let's hope not, because we know that it'll obviously be energy converted towards essentially loosh for the Epstein class to consume. So let's not give them any more of this. But I do think it's interesting taking a little bit of a look at history and realizing it's not quite that bizarre. We've done more bizarre things in the past. Here's one I figured we'd talk about. This seems like something made up. Perhaps it is. Let me know if you do find out this is made up, but I'm going to go ahead and believe it just because it's amazing. But apparently Andrew Jackson had a 1,400-pound block of cheese he left to age in the White House lobby for 2 years. And when he left office, he invited thousands of citizens to come and have a cheese eating party wherein the entire block was consumed in about 2 hours. So, anyways, I guess there's some people, for example, the post I brought up here, that are, kind of find it to be undignified, the UFC event. And I gotta admit, like, something about it, like, while I'm not really a sports enjoyer guy. Like, I don't really watch any sports, like, at all. I played the sports in high school. I played football. I played wrestling. I played soccer. I've never been a spectator sports guy, except for, there's a couple exceptions. Hockey, sometimes, sort of. Basketball, it was like I can watch, but that was more because it was like my older stepbrother. That's kind of what we bonded over. Me and him would get stoned when I was in high school or my like first semester of college, and we just watch basketball games. And basketball is like that perfect tempo where you don't really have to pay that much attention to it. You can kind of tell what's going on, and it still makes for a fun experience if you're paying attention to it. But you can also kind of break off and interact with other people. You don't have to be hyper focused, just the right tempo. But anyways. Shouldn't even have brought those up. Beside the point, UFC is really is like my thing. Like that's always been like MMA. Like I was into wrestling. I've done like multiple martial arts throughout my life. I mean, by no means am I some expert or anything. I'm not trying to act like that. But I've done like Aikido. I did judo. I've done did a little bit of boxing. I've done plenty of jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is the thing I've done the most aside from wrestling. So like this is something like if I had all the time, like if I hit it big, if I got on Rogan tomorrow or I got on the big podcast and this podcast was making tons of money, I would probably like, that's the thing. I would develop probably a crazy, like my hobbies would expand when my financial, floor is taken care of. And I'm just worried about podcasting. Be tons of reading, tons of working out, tons of probably like, and once those, the surrogate activities have been fulfilled for me, then I get, well, though I don't think they're really surrogate activities, but anyways, then it would be like something like a fighting. Like that would be like my third thing after like reading and like working out would be like MMA, like getting into that as a hobby. I could see myself getting back into that if I had that sort of time on my hands again. So just pointing out, this is like my shtick. I like UFC, but something about it, I mean, especially even the way it's like, I mean, it is kind of modern WWE, and it's not even that I have some like hallowed opinion of the White House or anything, but I understand somewhat where people are coming from, where this is like undignified. But in the same breath, though, I'm very much an anarchist, and I guess I kind of like that. I guess I like the the undignifying nature of it. I don't know. A lot to wrap your head around. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? Is it gross? Are you looking forward to it? Do you think there's going to be issues? I mean, there's just a smorgasbord of like, what the fuck? Whose idea was this? Like, there's so many like holes to pick at with, or to pick at with this of like, what is going on here? Who thought this was a good idea? But I don't know. I guess we'll see how they execute it in a couple weeks. And now you guys know that there was once a 1,400-pound block of cheese as well in the White House. Maybe one of these days we'll follow up, and I guess apparently there's some actual significance, some sort of symbolic significance. We can dig through that together, maybe on another morning dump. Who knows? And the last morning dump, not morning dump, last icebreaker story we have here. Apparently Jill Biden is finally admitting to the world what we kind of all knew, that she thought he was having a stroke during the 2024 debate. So kind of seemingly like, hey, we all know he was not doing so well. I gotta say, though, this is probably the cope as opposed to saying he was mentally diminished. Like, I think he was having a medical event during that. No, I think Joe was just that fucked. Like, I don't think any of the specific debates he was actually having a medical event as a side, unless you're including his like ongoing medical situation, just some permanent medical event, which that would be a fair way to look at it. Yeah, but either way, thanks Jill for finally coming around, admitting what a lot of us already know. I mean, this is even on the left now, like a laughable position to hold if you don't think that like Biden was obviously mentally diminished. Although I gotta say that it looks like, I mean, obviously nowhere near as bad as Biden, but if you do pay attention, Trump seems to be suffering from a lot of the same stuff. He does seem to not quite have the same zip in his step, does not seem to be quite as mentally clear. But not to say that in any way excuses from any of the crazy shit he's doing. I think that's definitely all of his own volition. I just think he doesn't really have the mental acuity to keep up the mask quite like he did in the past. But with that, let's roll in the chat, say our good mornings. Felt like I was way too rambly in this first opening segment. Sorry for that. But we'll get into foreign policy here in a moment. And but in the meantime, let's roll in the chat, say good morning, say all the like, checking on you beautiful people. And then we'll keep it popping. Good morning, Marcus. I'm doing weird sayings today, euphemisms. I feel like I keep fucking them up by like one weird word and saying it in a weird way. So sorry for that. I don't know why my brain's operating in that way today, but enjoy it. Good morning, Marcus Packard. Good morning, good morning, good morning, King David says sub and hype. Yes, please do. Which, by the way, the hype was available. I guess it wasn't the last live stream, but the Dutro episode, the recent one, definitely go check that out if you haven't. That's one of my favorite series, and me and Austin are kind of slow burning it, thankfully, because it is a dark subject, and you kind of have to slow burn it. So I know it's been months since we did the last part, but we're on part 7. Highly recommend it. Really just now sort of getting to the stuff that I'm really like, okay, oh shit, this is some interesting stuff. And pretty much all the stuff we've covered so far is like the sort of content you will not find in any sort of typical Dutro coverage generally. Like we haven't even gotten to like the meat of the standard like story of the Dutro narrative. So a Dutro story. So you guys enjoy it. Point being though, the hype is available there. So if you want to boost anything, I would prefer some hypes over on that one. I like to boost that series. Good morning, Tom33. Good morning, Emily Lawrence. Good morning, Cubertimo. Good morning. Good morning, Chris. Saying, hey, what's good? And what's good to everybody else. Appreciate the audio check there, Tom. Good morning, OG Matzo Ball. Says, so I got the tism from the circumcision. That almost rhymes. That really rolls off the tongue well. Good morning, Mustache. Says, I'm up early. Grabbing a breakfast burrito. Good to be here for live. Good to have you, brother. Appreciate you. OG saying the UFC event is June is why Trump bent the knee to Israel. They're going to use their weather. Oh, you caught me in the first half there. I thought you actually had a point. They're going to use their weather machine to ensure 65-degree temps and no rain. Okay, pretty good. Good. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, folks. He says to all of you beautiful people, good morning, bug fights. Good morning, PhD Nick Rivera. Yes, it is. Yes, I was a bit rambly. Are you letting an Edgar haircut grow out? What is an Edgar? Is that like is that like the one like the line across the? Is it like the like standard like Puerto Rican haircut or whatever? They line up the edges here. No, it's just that I did. I mean, you guys all know I had long hair recently. And I just took my beard trimmers once and just put it on like the highest setting I put my beard on and just yanked it all off. I mean, yes, I guess it's kind of one uniform length right now, so I guess I could see why it would look like the Edgar, but I have no intention of like lining up and making it look perfect. And I actually plan on just letting it grow out. So if there is an Edgar, it's only going to be a temporary fixture, not a permanent one. I do intend on growing it out. I think I'm going to keep trimming around the ears though, just because like it's one of those things that fucks me. I don't really like hair around the ears. So I think I might mullet it out. I really think I'm going full mullet. It's obviously going to take a while to get there, But obviously, if I'm trimming around the ears and growing everything else out, that is what a mullet is. So I think we'll get a mullet. Maybe once I get full glorious mullet, I'll just embrace it and just let it go over the ears and just have full long hair. But I do want to be able to say I had a mullet at one point, and it really is just partially because my autism doesn't like hair on my ears. So either way, I'm looking forward to it. We got months before we'll get there, but keep an eye out. We'll get there. But no, I'm not going for an Edgar. But good morning, Martin and Matt. Good to see you joining us here last second before we go into foreign policy. Let's go ahead and jump right into that. What is the latest? The latest is looks like they're still trying to murder negotiators. Nothing new. But we got some reports saying this. So we got a report. This is from Dave DeCamp over at antiwar.com. Says Israel is pressing the U.S. to restart heavy airstrikes in Iran that would involve the targeted killing of Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, one of Tehran's lead negotiators, and attacks on the country's oil infrastructure, capital, and empire, reported on Thursday. The report, which cited U.S. sources familiar with a classified report circulating within the intelligence community, the U.S. intelligence community, said Israel is aggressively pushing for the U.S. to abandon talks with Iran and insisting that destroying oil infrastructure in the country would bring about regime change, while also downplaying the impact the renewed full-scale war will have on the global economy, which there's no surprises there. The New York Times previously reported that Netanyahu had pitched Trump on launching the war back in early February by making a series of predictions that proved to be wrong, like we're seeing this very moment perhaps, including the idea that Iran was ripe for regime change, check, that its ballistic missile program could be destroyed within weeks, a little bit different one there. Swap that out for, let's attack their oil infrastructure, and that it would be too weak to close the Strait of Hormuz. Well, we were definitely wrong on that one, weren't we? Israeli officials have been clear that they want to restart the U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign and have threatened to kill the new supreme leader, Khamenei, who replaced his father, the elder Khamenei, Ali Khamenei, after he was killed by the Israeli strike on February 28th. Capital Empire reports that Israel has made the case to kill Ghalibaf directly to the Department of War and is focused on him since Khamenei's whereabouts are unknown. The U.S. intelligence report also determined that Israel wouldn't target Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Israel has a history of targeting officials involved in negotiations, which if you're a fan of the show, that's not news to you. In September 2025, Israel attempted to kill Hamas leader Khalil al-Hayya in Qatar as he was involved in negotiations on a Gaza ceasefire deal. The attack killed al-Hayya's son. An Israeli airstrike in Gaza recently killed another son of al-Hayya as he was involved in talks with the U.S.-led so-called Board of Peace. Super peaceful. Well, we got some more statements too in regards to Oman we talked about yesterday. Now Oman is geographically someone who kind of shares the Strait of Hormuz with Iran. So that's the significance of this. We covered yesterday how there was that clip of Trump saying, that if somebody had proposed, it's brought up the idea of like what he thought about, perhaps like an Iranian Oman, kind of dual toll system in the thing, like they work on it together. I mean, I guess maybe that's like a better selling point than just straight up like, no, it's just going to be Iran. Oman's kind of like an ally, like kind of like a neutral third party here. So kind of would be to kind of church it up a little bit. It doesn't sting quite as bad as just saying like, oh, it's just straight up Iran. You'd have one of your allies that you have influence in also controlling the area. Well, he didn't take that too well, and he returned some forceful language, said something about like Oman knows what it needs to do if it doesn't want to get blown up or whatever, kind of really alluding to that it could attack Oman if it did something along those lines, if it was essentially working with Iran to do that, although that wasn't really the way the reporter was framing it. This seemed like a diplomatic possibility is the way it was being framed, so it does kind of seem weird for it to react in this way. Well, it did seem to strike a chord because they're still malding about it, although perhaps maybe this is like a backing off, but here's another piece from Dave. It says the U.S. Treasury Secretary threatens Oman with sanctions if it facilitates tolls for the Strait of Hormuz. So looking like they did strike a chord. So Scott Bessent on Thursday threatened to aggressively target Oman with sanctions if it was involved in facilitating tolls in the Strait of Hormuz, a warning that came after Trump threatened to blow up the country. The United States government will not tolerate any effort to impose a tolling system in the Strait of Hormuz, Bessent wrote on X. Oman in particular should know that the U.S. Treasury will aggressively target any actors involved directly or indirectly in facilitating tolls for the strait, and any willing partners will be penalized, he added. Besson also announced more sanctions on Iran targeting the country's Persian Gulf Transit Authority. The U.S. Treasury continues our economic fury campaign against the Iranian regime, he said in a separate post. Iran's Persian Gulf Strait Authority is a joke, and today Treasury has sanctioned it. We have warned any corporate or state entities against paying tolls or hiding them as aid payments. On Wednesday, Trump was asked if he would accept a short-term deal that involves Iran and Oman jointly controlling the strait and said, no, the strait's got to be open to everybody. It's international waters. Nobody's going to control it. Oman will behave just like everybody else, or we'll have to blow them up. Iranian officials have said they held talks with their Omani counterparts on imposing a toll system with revenue shared between the two countries, an arrangement Tehran is now framing as a fee for navigation services and environmental protection. It's unlikely Iran will back down from its demand for some sort of fee for ships transiting the strait, since it seeks funds for reconstruction following the U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign, which killed more than 3,400 Iranians and did devastating damage to civilian infrastructure. Well, we got that we just told you about. We got the idea that they might be bombing or trying to kill negotiators. We talked about the previous couple days about how there were airstrikes, defensive airstrikes, against a non-offender by the United States in southern Iran. So things are looking a little shaky, but if you paid attention to Fox News, you would think otherwise. Let's check in on what Jesse Waters is telling his people as of yesterday, late last night. Looks like a whole lot of excitement coming from some of the mainstream fixtures out there. So let's check this out.
We kind of have a deal. Officials say U.S. and Iranian negotiators have agreed to a 60-day memorandum of understanding. The agreement would crack open the strait, launch a new wave of negotiations over the enemy's uranium, and extend the ceasefire for another 60 days. But it's waiting on one thing: the president's sign-off. He's told negotiators that he's going to think about it, and he might be waiting for the Arabs to sign on too. Over the weekend, officials say the deal would be broken up into two parts. This is the first stage. Administration sources tell Axios, quote, "This is an agreement to get everybody to the table. We will work out the details in the negotiations." The president will come into the second phase stern with his demands. Here's Scotty B in the briefing room today. Watch.
He has several red lines, and Iran has to turn over their highly enriched uranium. They cannot pursue a nuclear weapon, and the Strait of Hormuz has to be free and open as it was before. So he's not going to take a bad deal. He's going to make a great deal for the American people.
President's not in any rush. If the mullahs don't agree, back to bombs.
Is there a line that they would cross for you to go on the offensive again militarily?
Well, a deal that wasn't going to be good for us is the line, ultimately, because, I'm playing it out, and we're going to see, and that's what I do. I negotiate. They negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards.
Over the last 48 hours, we've gotten into a couple of skirmishes. They tried laying mines in the strait. We blew up their boats. They shot drones. We knocked them out and their launchers. These rogue soldiers even lobbed a ballistic missile toward Kuwait last night, but it was shot down. Here's JD.
These ceasefires are always a little messy, and sometimes the guys at the lower level aren't communicating with the guys at the top level. Sometimes people make mistakes. The president's been very clear that if we're fired upon, we're going to fire back. But if you compare the conflict now to where it was 5-6 weeks ago, I think the president's ceasefire is very much holding.
The hardliners don't want a deal, but the regime, they need it. They have to shock some life back into the economy. A block of cheese over there, 8 million reals. 8 million. Inflation's killing them, worse than Biden. And Besson's squeezing them like a figure-4 leg lock. Treasury's even going after Iranian airlines, cutting off landing and refueling spots. The gay Ayatollah's on his knees, begging for unfrozen cash and sanctions drop. No dust. No deal. U.S. officials say this, quote, "The more the Iranians are willing to give, the more they will get." And Besson says a deal's the only way they can end the downward spiral. They can unshackle their economy and free up a lot of sweet crude for the rest of the world.
Oil prices are down about 10% in May. There are almost 2,000 ships waiting to come out of the Gulf. And I think the oil market is going to be very well supplied on the other side of this, and that we could see prices come down very quickly.
The price of oil is going down into the low 90s, and another day of record highs for the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P. So the economy's holding up, and the midterms are around the corner. But the president's not thinking about that. He just wants the best deal.
So if you wanted to play that game, then you would wait till the midterms are over, and then the following hour, you'll attack Iran because they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Most people agree with me on that. But then it gets maybe carried into, the next election, whether it's a midterm or not. So you have a very short window for doing anything having to do with war. But I don't view that window. I view it, I have to do what's right.
Well, this is a little bit 1984, a little dystopian sort of coverage. It's funny. You see the caption here, breaking, U.S. and Iran just agreed to a deal. And then it says, next step, Trump's sign off. Well, if you watch that whole clip with not crazy cope glasses on, I think you can kind of come across to wait, so there's not a deal. It really is just kind of this ongoing posturing, it seems. After watching this Jesse Waters thing, you go, well, I don't think there is any fucking deal going on. Seems more like just trying to manipulate the markets, trying to influence the public opinion. Well, I don't know. Let's check in on some of the live updates. It seems there actually has been some sort of report seeming maybe something's going on. So let's check in on the live updates. But it is funny. You see some of these establishment coverage of this. There's a lot of them acting as if the deal is already happening. And you're like, no, what you're saying is that they're talking still. So, Trump says U.S. blockade of Strait of Hormuz to be lifted. So I guess this is some of the latest here. Although that sounds incredibly doubtful because we have been covering the ins and outs of that. So you're saying the naval blockade will be lifted. So, okay, that's great. So that's the U.S. side of things there. So you're saying the naval blockade will be lifted and that he would meet with aides on Friday to make a final decision on a deal with Iran. So, hell, even if we just get out of there and just stop the blockade, that would be great. We got Iran's top negotiator, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, says in negotiations with the U.S., we have no trust in guarantees or words, only actions are the measure as peace talks drag on. So let's see what the latest is. We got, as of a minute ago, Iranian media rejects Trump's claims about potential deal conditions. So, wham, wham, wham. Iran's semi-official Fars news agency has cited informed sources as dismissing Trump's latest statement about conditions for a potential Iran deal as a mix of truth and lies. The unnamed sources claim Trump in his recent Truth Social post distorted key elements of the draft agreement in an attempt to acclaim a fake victory. Specifically, the sources say Trump's claim that Iran's enriched material would be destroyed is fundamentally baseless. So I guess he's throwing that claim around. And his claim that Iran must open the Strait of Hormuz without charging fees is also not reflected in the draft agreement. So once again, not looking good, unfortunately. Sources added that Trump failed to mention other key provisions of the draft deal, including the U.S. release of billions of dollars worth of Iranian assets and establishment of a full ceasefire in Lebanon. Now, I will say, at least gas prices wise, it looks like we're under $4 now. I just know I got gas yesterday where it was under $4, so it kind of snuck down there. So it looks like whatever he's doing here is, perhaps at least influencing the impressions of the market. I do think in some real way, I don't know how many times we can go through this infinite cycle of ooh, we're going to have a deal. And then we sort of struggle session, maybe a little bit wiggle up on how solid one side isn't. I don't know how many times we're going to do this. At some point, it does feel like the gears are just kind of grinding. And I know, like we just said, that Trump was saying he might drop the naval block. I could see something like this happening within the next 1 to 3 of these little fucking cycles of we're going to have a deal. Perhaps some sort of actual action happens, the blockade is rescinded or partially rescinded or something along those lines. So, maybe this is why we're seeing this reflect in the global markets. The price coming down a little bit, people feeling a little bit more solid as something happening soon. So while this does seem somewhat contrived, I do to some degree it is striking in a little bit of a vein of truth, and that I really do feel like this has got to wrap sometime soon. Although I don't know. I mean, if it's up to Israel, we will crank this right back up to 10, and shit will get rough again. So let's hope against that. But the sources added that Trump failed to mention other key provisions of the draft deal, including the U.S. release of billions of dollars worth of Iranian assets and the establishment of a full ceasefire in Lebanon. So, okay, well, they're saying these are still key provisions. This is a line that Trump has made, has been vociferous about how that was one of the many things that was awful about the Obama deal, is that they gave them these billions of dollars, which, as I explained yesterday, are literally Iranian assets that just were like essentially stolen once they decided they were going to sanction them. And it also is being held up on the ceasefire in Lebanon, which we'll get into that here in a few. Not looking promising there. Surprise, surprise. Now let's scroll through some of these. See if there's anything else on that. All right. Here, read Trump's Truth Social post outlining Iran deal demands in full. Okay, well, let's see what Trump had to say. We're doing this a little bit backwards. We did just read Iran's response. So he said these are a mixture of lies, but let's see the bluster coming out of Trump. So this is what he said on Truth Social, and then we'll move on to the next story. It says Iran must agree that they will never have a nuclear weapon or bomb. The Hormuz Strait must be immediately open. No tolls for unrestricted shipping traffic in both directions. All water mines, bombs, if any, will be terminated. We have removed through detonation numerous such mines with our great underwater minesweepers. Iran will complete the immediate removal and/or detonation of any mines that are left, which will not be many. Ships caught in the strait due to our amazing and unprecedented naval blockade, which will now be lifted, may start the process of heading home. Say hello to your wives, husbands, parents, and families from me, your favorite president. Okay, well, I mean, hopefully there's some truth to this, and that they are actually, they're stopping it. Although it almost seems like that the way this is framed as if one is a condition dependent on the other, but not really though, because they are kind of butted up to each other. It kind of implies there's some relation here. But no, I guess you can read that. That's a concern here. The ambiguity here is a little bit concerning, in that it could be implying it's conditional. It could be meaning we're doing it either way. I'm hoping they're doing it either way. The enriched material, sometimes referred to as nuclear dust, which is buried deep underground with virtually collapsed mountains caused by our powerful B-2 bomber 11 months ago, sitting on top of it, will be unearthed by the United States. Okay, sure. I do not see that happening, which it is agreed is the only country, along with China, with a mechanical capability of doing so, in close coordination and conjunction with the Islamic Republic of Iran, plus the IAEA, and destroyed. No money will be exchanged until further notice. Other items of far less importance have been agreed to. I will be meeting now in the Situation Room to make a final determination. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. Now, this was 50 minutes ago, so I guess I'll give one more. I'll refresh this page just to make sure nothing else came through before we move on. But nope, the latest is the one we saw about the Iranians essentially calling out what they're saying was a mixture of lies in that post that we just read. For example, the like he was saying that they were going to get the nuclear dust. That's not happening. I do not see that happening. But who knows? One can hope. Moving on, more murders on the high seas from the Trump administration. 2 men on a boat in the Eastern Pacific. So Southcom says it killed 2 narco-terrorists with an airstrike in the Eastern Pacific. So we got another snuff video that I'm not going to play for you guys. Let's see. Is there any evidence this time? Nope, not seeing any evidence again. No evidence. So they're just I guess they murder people for drug dealing now. That's what we do, even without evidence, just because some trust me bros from the government. But yep, some murder going on there. And with that going on, it is a little concerning that this is how they're behaving, just kind of flagrantly on the high seas. But now it looks like they're also, we got some drug wars happening in South American countries. We got inside the countries themselves. It looks like the Department of War is going to be working with Guatemala now. Apparently, Guatemala has agreed to allow U.S. airstrikes on its territory as U.S. escalates military interventions in Latin America. So between all the military interventionism going on, the drug war stuff going on, it kind of feels like this creeping feeling happening to our south. So definitely a lot to be concerned about there, especially when you're as schizophrenic as we are on this show. You know that this likely isn't really let's get rid of drugs, let's get rid of the business, or not the business, the competition. Guatemala has agreed to carry out joint strikes of the U.S. military in its territory to target drug trafficking groups. The New York Times reported on Thursday. The report said that Guatemalan President Bernardo Arevalo held a call with U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth last week and agreed to allow both airstrikes and other military action, and joint military operations could begin next month. Guatemala has become the second country in the region to allow the U.S. military to take part in its war on drugs after Ecuador, where U.S. military personnel are advising and assisting Ecuadorian troops. The Times previously reported that one of the first operations involved bombing what the U.S. and Ecuador claimed was a drug camp, but turned out to be a dairy farm. The Trump administration has merged the war on drugs with the war on terror, first by bombing alleged drug running boats in the Caribbean Sea and labeling the people it is executing as narco-terrorists. So I think that line right there lays out well kind of what I was trying to say, how they are merging. This is a good example of it. So you see how we're kind of slowly creeping into South America, and essentially they're just opening up their reasoning for it. They can kind of loosely be terrorism, loosely be drug-related. Either way, they get their way. They infiltrate. They're slowly infiltrating these people, taking out the competition, it seems. So definitely a lot to be concerned about. Hoping things simmer down south. But let's check in on our greatest ally. We got Netanyahu saying the quiet thing out loud, saying he directed the Israeli military to take more territory in Gaza. Wait, what? That's a fucking ceasefire violation. No one fucking cares. Netanyahu said that he directed the Israeli military to take more territory in Gaza by increasing its control from 60% to 70%, a clear violation of the U.S.-backed ceasefire deal in October 2025. Said at this point, we're fully in control of 60% of the territory, and my directive is to get to 60% or to get to 70%. He said in footage aired by Israel's Channel 12. Netanyahu made the remarks during a conference at the Ein Prat Leadership Academy in a Jewish settlement in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. An audience member shouted out that Israel should take 100% of Gaza. Netanyahu didn't dispute the idea after that taking over the entire Palestinian territory was the ultimate, and replied by saying, "We're going in order. First 70%, we'll start with that." He said he recently acknowledged that Israel now controls 60%, more than 50% of the territory it initially occupied after the signing of the October 2025 deal. The agreement states the IDF will not return to areas that have been withdrawn from as long as Hamas fully implements the agreement. And Hamas has fulfilled its side of the deal by releasing all living Israeli hostages and bodies that it had and working to recover other Israeli remains. Israeli officials have claimed Hamas is violating the deal by not disarming, but the agreement didn't commit Hamas to giving up its weapons. The two sides agreed to a U.S. proposal that called for the demilitarization of Gaza as a framework for negotiations, but the issue of disarmament was meant to be worked out in follow-up talks. Now, those two paragraphs right there lay out what I was trying to, in my not-so-eloquent way, try to lay out yesterday in the ludicrous situation that we're dealing with over in Gaza when it comes to the deal, because they are flagrantly flagrantly disregarding the ceasefire deal on the Israeli side of it, while behaving as if they are not, but openly, just in your face, telling you how they're doing it. But then on the flip side, they're telling you how Hamas is violating the ceasefire deal when they very obviously are not violating the ceasefire. It's just nuts. Israel's also violated the deal by launching constant attacks in Gaza, which have killed more than 920 Palestinians since the agreement was signed. Recent days have been especially violent, with the health minister in Gaza reporting on Thursday that at least 16 Palestinians were killed by IDF attacks over the previous 24-hour period, which on that, here's a piece on the 16 died in the past 48 hours. So Israeli attacks include the bombing of a residential building in Gaza City on Wednesday night, which killed 10 people, including 4 children. According to health officials speaking to Al Jazeera, Israel claimed that it targeted 2 Hamas members, and a source close to Hamas told Reuters that at least one local commander, identified as Ahmad Aslim, was killed. The day before, on Tuesday night, an Israeli strike on a building in Gaza City killed Mohammed Odeh, the head of Hamas's military wing, the Al-Qassam's brigade, who was killed alongside his wife and 2 sons. Odeh just replaced the former Qassam's chief Izz al-Din al-Haddad, who was killed 11 days earlier. The assassinations and heavy Israeli attacks, which all violate the October 2025 ceasefire deal, come as Palestinians celebrated the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha and prompted Hamas to call on the Trump administration to condemn Israel's violations of the agreement. So the U.S. administration, the countries guaranteeing the agreement, must assume their responsibilities by taking a clear stance condemning the occupation's violations, Hamas said, according to Middle East Eye. Well, they are correct, but I would not hold my breath, unfortunately for them. They also added that urgent and serious steps must be taken to ensure the occupation complies with the terms of the deal, which is at risk of collapse due to its ongoing crimes and repeated breaches. 922 since that ceasefire has gone into effect over there in Gaza. And then over in Lebanon, things aren't looking much better, and this is obviously very concerning, if not only for the loss of human life, which is awful, but also that this continues to lock us in a stalemate with Iran, because Iran does not seem to be signaling in any way, shape, or form that they are going to be dropping the condition of Israel stopping their bullshit over in Lebanon. And I think we all know that Israel's probably not going to stop their bullshit over in Lebanon. So that's why I think really probably the best we can hope for with the Iran thing at this moment in time is that Trump just kind of stops the blockade. So we're still going to end up in a worse situation than when it all started, significantly so, but we can stop making it worse, I guess. But Israel recently extended its evacuation order in the city of Tyre in Lebanon to include effectively the whole south of Lebanon, declaring the entire region an active combat zone despite a ceasefire anomaly having been in place in Lebanon for over a month now. The ceasefire that constantly failed to cease Israeli attacks in Lebanon, and even as hope springs eternal that the U.S. and Iran will work out a deal, Lebanese citizens are increasingly resigned to a long-term Israeli invasion and occupation. Israel has been expanding the war northwards in recent days, with ground troops crossing the Litani River and IDF forces once again attacking the capital city of Beirut, claiming they were trying to kill an Iranian who was there. At least 17 people were killed nationwide in Israeli attacks, and scores of others were wounded. At least 5 women and 3 children are among the slain, according to various reports on the identities of the people caught up in Israeli attacks. 6 were reported killed in Adalun, including 2 children with their parents. 5 others were killed in nearby Kuya, and 21 others wounded, including 5 children. Further south along the road to Dar al-Zawari, a strike on a vehicle killed a Lebanese soldier, the third such soldier slain in the last 72 hours. Keep in mind, cease fire. More attacks were reported in and around Tyre, the target of yesterday's evacuation orders. 3 were reportedly killed in a strike near Al-Bas, and 2 Syrian citizens were slain on a motorcycle elsewhere around Tyre. With shelters overwhelmed and the highways leading out of Tyre packed, many feel they have no real option to flee the city as ordered, though a large number who are able have already left. So the city among Lebanon's largest. So there are at least fewer people left to be targeted by the IDF. Though further talks are expected later in the week on the ceasefire, there seems little indication that Israel has any intention of reducing the number of attacks it's carrying out. If anything, they seem determined to see how far it can stretch the definition of ceasefire while engaging in an open war of aggression. With that, let's pop back into the chat, say some more good mornings, and then we'll get into our first named segment of the day, the Israel's Epstein class, or titled segment of the day, I guess. With that, let's check in on you beautiful people, see what you guys got to say. Here's Northside. Good morning to you. It says, why is Teal going to leave? He fucked a bunch of shit up. Yeah, for those who aren't aware, Teal's moving to Argentina. Probably go hang out with his grandpa, old Adolf. Just obviously being a little silly there. But yeah, he left. Yeah, he left. I guess cited the political climate. So I'm sure it'll probably come up in one of our segments here in the next week or so. But yes, he did leave. Good morning, Gerald. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, John Black. Says, so we're watching Fox News. That's cool. Yeah, we're making fun of it, though. They're stupid. Good morning to you, beautiful bastard. Good morning, Fireback Pixie. Good morning. Good morning. Bug Fights. I said good morning to you already, but you said, woo, just sold my first pool. Cool. Congrats. I'm assuming if you're a pool salesman, I hope you haven't been a pool salesman for long, because that's not a good record. But if you're just starting out, congrats. Your first big sale. Who else we got here? Good morning, Tara Jackson. Says, watching while meeting an online NA meeting. So, good. Keep working on that. Keep that sobriety going strong. Good for you. Happy to see it. Good morning, Afharas. Says, hi, your hair looks better. Thank you. Yeah, it was getting raggedy. It was all fucked up. I had all sorts of issues. I'd gone so long at putting product in it, and then also like had so many different hairstyles. I got all fucked up. So I just needed to just chop it off and let it come back. So it'll come back even more glorious. So, but I'm glad a lot of people are saying they like it short. I'm just warning you guys, and everybody like you make fun of the long hair. I'm going to have the long hair again. I just need a reset. So, but I'm glad you guys like it. Bug Fight says he's stepping it up from renovation to new construction. Nice. Good morning, Boomer Sooner. Good morning. Thank you, Boomer. Appreciate the support. It says feed the kitties funds. So give me a $2. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate the support. Thank you. With that, let's go ahead and get into our coverage of Israel's Epstein class. We'll start it on the U.S. side of things, though. We'll kind of meander our way in there. Just kind of show a little bit of the glue that binds the from the different sides of the pond of the Epstein class between they're dual Epstein citizens is what they are. They have dual loyalty. But let's check in on to kind of set the stage. I thought it was a fun way to go into it. There was a fun little gaff. I guess not even gaff would be the right way to put it. This I don't know, a fun Trumpism recently. He recently got asked about if he'd be attending his son's wedding, and hilarity ensued. Enjoy this.
He'd like me to go, but it's going to be just a small little private affair, and I'm going to try and make it. I'm in the midst. I said, this is not good timing for me. I have a thing called Iran and other things. That's one I can't win on. If I do attend, I get killed. If I don't attend, I get killed. By the fake news, of course, I'm talking about. No, but he's got a very person who I've known for a long time, and hopefully they're going to have a great marriage.
Mr. President, actually, to add to the art, I just actually passed.
Okay, now I've heard some people say that last little line there, that like there was some sort of mumble or something that maybe signifies he was talking about his soon-to-be daughter-in-law, but it is pretty funny him referring to his son. It sounds like he's referring to his son. He's like, oh, he's somebody that I know, and like I hope they have a good marriage that I know very well, which is kind of an odd way to talk about one's child. A lot of people have kind of leaned into like, what, you can't go to your son's wedding? The reasoning being that you've got a lot going on. He wants me to go. There's a lot going on. I don't know if I can. So like, he's the president of the United States. The idea being like, oh, there's lots of crazy, serious stuff going on with the Iran war, yada, yada, yada. Well, I don't know. This is a guy who have a little bit of a reputation. I don't normally lean into this sort of discourse because I just don't care. It's kind of something that all presidents do. But like, he's known for, going golfing quite frequently. I don't know if he's still doing that, but it seems like if he can get away with that, with, maybe the occasional libtard screaming about he's golfing or whatever, then you'd think he'd be able to do the same for a wedding and get a whole lot less guff for that. I think that was one that even some of his biggest detractors would probably not. I wouldn't really predict a whole lot of slam pieces on Trump for attending his child's wedding. I don't think. By the way, I keep going back to it. Once you notice it, you can't unsee it. By the way, for those viewing this and not listening, look just to the right of Trump. He's being absolutely tummy mugged right there. You see that? And dude's even got a fucking Audi. What a fucking power move to have like a big old beer gut and an Audi, and then to top it all off, to do like a tucked in shitty fucking polo into like just some khakis. That is some powerful aura. That's some powerful chud aura right there. That is like boss level chud right there. But anyways, it's distracting me from the literal president of the United States. right next to his head. But anyways, I digress, not to get off on a whole other theme here on tummies. But anyway, funny, obviously funny. I don't think a lot of people give him a shit. But, well, who the fuck... He didn't make it, I don't believe, is kind of a long story short. But who did he marry? Donald Trump Jr. has married the daughter of Jeffrey Epstein's personal banker, Loy Anderson, who once called Epstein a gentleman of the highest integrity. Which, it gets as a small club, they're swimming in the same waters, once you get to the elite, hey, they probably go to the same schools. Hey, that would be the cope here. She's a very pretty lady. Here's a picture of them together. So that is, let's check in. What is this thing they supposed to, this is a father of this lady. This is a note from some previous time. It says, Mr. Epstein enjoys an excellent reputation in our community. He's taken an active role in the Palm Beach social calendar and has been very generous to the numerous fundraising efforts in Palm Beach. This reads like some sort of character statement in one of his legal cases, perhaps. I'm not sure what the context is here. It says, Jeffrey is a gentleman of the highest integrity, and I would not hesitate to recommend him and any of his entities to you. Please feel free to call me directly if you would like additional information. Sincerely, H. Loy Anderson. So, okay, interesting. I mean, make of that what you will. Interesting little tidbit. But that's who Donald Trump Jr. has married. Now, I do want to say one little thing, a little comedic side note before we move on. I have recently started picturing in my head the Trump family, like the girl, like his daughter. Like she counts as a full-blooded J. Like for those who don't understand. Like, I think once you kind of frame the Trump administration this way, or the Trump family this way in your head, it really explains a lot of the dynamics, the familial dynamics here. Trump seems to very much love his daughter, Ivanka, which she's very photogenic. I totally get why. She also speaks well. So, like, she is, like, if you're trying to, run some sort of propaganda, anything, she is like, she's it. She's the shit. Now, let's be real. His other son, like this boy, is typically Barron's kind of coolish. He's got some cool vibes. But, like, the other ones, like Donald Trump Jr., who even is the other guy? I forget the other ones. They got greasy vibes to him, like car salesman vibes to him. But anyways, I digress. What I'm getting at is, now the daughter, Ivanka, she is a J. Like, she married... She even converted, I think. She married Jared Kushner, then she converted. And keep in mind, this passes along matriarchal lines. And since she converted, her children will be Jewish as well, according to the lore or whatever. Now, there's always there's all the conspiracies that Trump at some point converted to Chabad. But then that leads the rest of his family, like the boys particularly. We'll put a Barron aside because he's younger. I just think if you imagine them as like the Shabbos goy of the Trump family, you just nail on the head what they are. But either way, that aside, I mean, I don't know what the nationality of this girl is, but who knows? Maybe his sons won't be afflicted with that same curse in the family. But it feels like they treat him like that, too. That's like the vibe I get, especially after watching that clip about whether you're going to go to his wedding. Anyways, whatever. Let's get into some actual... Let's check out some of these other, undue connections to Israel and kind of vaguely the Epstein class. Here's a piece from Responsible Statecraft. Apparently, one of Trump's homies funneled millions of Israeli government cash into U.S. media. So this is Brad Parscale. So the company run by former Trump campaign manager Brad Parscale, hired by the Israeli government to push pro-Israel views on a major conservative media network, has directed $13 million from Israel to several Republican digital strategy firms and allies. And according to a previously unreported document filed under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, that's FARA, Parscale was hired in part to influence major right-wing Christian media company Salem Media Group, where he is also an executive. His firm spent hundreds of thousands on ads with a Salem subsidiary. Now, keep the Salem Media Group, keep that name in mind. As part of the contract, Parscale's firm also sent millions to other firms run by some of his closest political allies. The new filing sheds light on a more detailed web of interconnected companies and political operatives capitalizing on Parscale's contract with the Israeli government, Many of the companies getting work as part of Parscale's Israel contract are being reported here for the first time. Among those that received millions of dollars worth of payments related to the contract are ventures like Sparkfire, an AI chatbot company leading a mass texting campaign, and a shadowy firm run by longtime mainstream Republican strategist Mike Shields. None of the figures or firms in the story responded to requests for comment. Israel initially directly hired Parscale's firm Clock Tower X last September with a contract worth $6 million. The new filing reveals that his firm has received over $15 million through an intermediary, Havas Media Network, an international media company working on behalf of the Israeli state. The document shows that Parscale directed over $500,000 for ads to Salem Media representatives of subsidiary of Salem Media. Although Parscale was hired to integrate pro-Israel messaging into Salem Media shows, which feature conservative commentators such as Hugh Hewitt, Larry Elder, and Scott Jennings, those payments to those conservative media conglomerate on behalf of Israel were not previously known. Parscale, who is the chief strategy officer for Salem Media, is not the only registered representative of Israel working for the media company. One of Parscale's team members working on the Israel contract, Ashley Evdokimo, is Salem's vice president for communications. According to her LinkedIn profile, Evdokimo, who works with Parscale on his digital strategy company, Campaign Nucleus, took a position at Salem Media in September 2025, the same month that Parscale was hired to work for the Israeli government. A month later, Evdokimo registered as a foreign agent for Israel. One of the largest recipients of the Israeli funds coming in through Parscale's contract is a firm called Portman Road Strategies, which is run by longtime GOP strategist Mike Shields, according to Virginia State Records. Shields' firm received just under $5 million from Parscale as part of the contract in exchange for media placement, consulting, polling, and advertising work. Shields, a longtime Parscale ally, is also largely responsible for staffing the contract with the Israeli government. Of Parscale's 18 team members at Clock Tower X, 14 are staffers at Convergence Media, campaign strategy, digital public affairs, and media firm led by Shields. During the first Trump administration, Shields and Parscale operate as a package deal, consistently recommending each other's services as both became power brokers in Trump's world. Parscale frequently convinced GOP campaigns, including that of Ron DeSantis, to hire Shields as Convergence Media. The duo are now applying their digital influence campaign playbook to Israel. According to his bio, Shields was also a CNN commentator, a former chief of staff for the RNC, and a strategist for former Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Parscale directed another $6 million of Israeli funds to Sparkfire Technologies, an AI chatbot company. Sparkfire's role was previously unknown, but it was related to a campaign of text messages that was first reported by Responsible Statecraft. Under the contract, Parscale's firm reaches out to Americans under the auspices of supposed peace organizations. Sparkfire's main service, called the Flywheel, uses AI to reach out to people with personalized messages. The AI then performs an analysis on the conversation, with Sparkfire storing the data and using it to target messages to the recipient. Bot text sent by Sparkfire can appear compassionate, understanding, and referential based on screenshots shared with the Intercept and Responsible Statecraft. Sparkfire claims these types of conversations are highly effective. The company boasts its messaging had a 45% conversion rate, suggesting almost half of the recipients were persuaded by the AI-powered conversation. While the scale of its text campaigns is unknown, Sparkfire says it can reach millions of people. In text conversations with Americans about Israel, Sparkfire's bots frequently push links to pro-Israel websites and videos created by Parscale. One video posted by a YouTube channel called Allies for Peace claims the narrative of suffering in Gaza was manufactured. The pro-Israel websites and videos created for the initiative are also intended to influence artificial intelligence platforms like ChatGPT and Claude that scrape the internet for content. Parscale's websites include a legal disclaimer that they were created on behalf of the Israeli government. To identify the connection to paid pro-Israel advocacy, users of ChatGPT and Claude would have to ask the chatbot for sources, click the links to Parscale's websites, and then scroll to the bottom of the page just to see that they are receiving information from a contractor for Israel. Another company that appears to be involved with Parscale's Israel contract is Jackson Parker, whose Florida chapter was founded by Parscale and billionaire oil tycoon Tim Dunn in early 2025. The company shares an Ohio office with several other Parscale companies working on the Israel project. A recent job listing from Jackson Parker for a director of strategic communication says, "We are a mission-driven organization focused on combating anti-Semitism and strengthening public understanding of Israel as America's closest ally in the Middle East." One of the position's requirements that the listing says is to maintain compliance with FARA. Dunn, a major Trump donor, is an evangelical preacher and billionaire who spent tens of millions of dollars to push Texas towards a Christian governance model. He's staunchly pro-Israel and chairs a Christian advisory board, the Israel Allies Foundation. Dunn once told a Jewish Republican Texas House Speaker, however, that only Christians should hold leadership positions in the State House. Dunn is also, that's kind of base. I'm not even religious, but that's kind of base. Dunn is also heavily involved in the recently announced purchase of Salem Media. Earlier this month, Waterstone, a Colorado-based nonprofit that already controlled a 49.5% voting interest in Salem Media, said it would acquire the remaining shares of the company at a 250% premium of its recent share price, taking the company private. Hexagon Foundation, a nonprofit led by Dunn, is the largest institutional donor to Waterstone. Dunn's organization, which says its mission is to support Waterstone, gave $70 million to Salem's new owners in 2025. On LinkedIn, an employee of another company called 3 Tech, which received close to $500,000 from the Israel contract, wrote, "Come with us," and then shared job listings from Jackson Parker. 3 Tech, a software development company founded in 2024, is connected to a constellation of interwoven firms run by Parscale in Ohio and Texas that have been paid with Israeli government money. 3 Tech is listed as a certified partner of a marketing firm that shares Clock Tower X's Medina, Ohio address, along with another Parscale company receiving Israeli money as part of this deal. AI company Eyes Over. According to the CEO's LinkedIn, 3 Tech uses a team of 80 Serbian engineers. Parscale's work with the help of subcontractors is part of a broader strategy by the Israeli government to win back support from young conservatives and evangelicals. 57% of Republicans aged 18 to 49 have an unfavorable opinion of Israel, according to a Pew poll from March. Netanyahu's government has ramped up spending on influence operations. Earlier this year, Israel has more than quadrupled its public diplomacy budget from $150 million in 2025 to $730 million in 2026. Now this is written by Nick Cleveland Stout and Jacqueline Sweet. So ups to them for this. Good work. So the former campaign manager. And here's one of the comments below it I thought it was kind of interesting. It says, kind of FYI, the Charlie Kirk Show is currently listed under Salem Podcast Network's Our Podcast section. So let's check in over with Kim Iverson. She has more to say on the Salem Media, TPUSA connection. So let's check that out. Here we go.
Thomas Massie is going completely scorched earth now that he has 7 months left in office. He is pointing at TPUSA, saying that they have Israeli ties. And not just do they have Israeli ties, but they gained those ties mere days after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Thomas Massie writes, "Grok, is it true that the Charlie Kirk Show is now distributed by a registered foreign agent of Israel?" Grok says, yes, there is a substantive connection between the Charlie Kirk Show and the syndicator, which is a registered agent under FARA for Israel. So just days after Charlie Kirk's assassination, suddenly you have this clock tower, which is owned and controlled by Salem Media's chief strategy officer, Brad Parscale, and it registers as an agent of Israel. Their goal is to integrate narrative messaging within Salem Media Network. They have a $6 million contract covering strategic communications, media services, digital campaigns targeting Gen Z to give them Israeli messaging because they are registered with FARA for the state of Israel. By the way, Salem Media Network owns a ton of news networks, local news networks across the country. So we have allowed Israel to not only buy TikTok, not only do they now have control over CBS News and Paramount and I believe CNN, but now they also have control over our local news networks and TPUSA. This is a full-blown infiltration. As soon as Charlie Kirk was dead, TPUSA went in a totally different direction, trying to brainwash Gen Z, adding more to the suspicion that it wasn't just some lone crazy trans kid, Tyler Robinson, who killed Charlie Kirk. There's more to that story.
All right. Well, I think we've kind of demonstrated a whole lot of undue influence from a certain Middle Eastern country. And what is our government doing to solve this? Well, here's what they're doing. Apparently, the DOJ has announced a 15-city nationwide anti-Semitism awareness and action tour to increase reporting of anti-Semitism, strengthen collaboration between local and federal law enforcement and Jewish communities, and foster broad interfaith opposition to anti-Semitism among Jews, Baptist Christians, Catholics, and Muslims. Well, okay, that's quite the move. We'll see how that works out for them. Now let's, as we've explored the U.S. side of this dynamic, well, if we talk about the Epstein class quite a bit over here on the U.S. side of things, well, let's dive a little bit into the Epstein class on the Israel side of things. Go kind of journey a little bit further into the belly of the beast. Here's David Sheen, says, after tireless struggle by victims and finally a 1-hour TV documentary this week, settlements south of Jerusalem admit their leaders have long created child pornography by filming when they gang rape kids in the community. No longer in denial, Gush Etzion admits to ritual abuse. Let's check this out. This is over at jfeed.com, which, fun. I don't know. It just is funny when you see things like J Street, J Feed, or whatever. They're leading into the whole J thing. Whatever, it's funny. I think it's funny. It makes me giggle a little bit. But they're keeping track of Jewish news. It says, an unprecedented public statement. The Gush Etzion Regional Council acknowledged ritualistic sexual abuse cases in the communities following a bombshell Can 11 investigation, ending a long period of denial and urging victims to come forward. In a dramatic reversal that marks a turning point in one of Israel's most disturbing abuse scandals, the Gush... accidentally, that's redundant there. Actually, never mind, I'm retarded. In a dramatic reversal that marks a turning point in one of Israel's most disturbing abuse scandals, the Gush Etzion Regional Council has issued an unprecedented public statement acknowledging ritualistic sexual abuse cases within its communities, ending a prolonged period of denial and silence. The extraordinary statement came in direct response to a bombshell investigative report by journalist Ronnie Zinger, aired on Can 11's Zaman Emet program. The broadcast presented testimonies from 5 different women, most of whom did not know each other, who described strikingly similar patterns of multi-perpetrator ritualistic sexual abuse occurring in the same areas of Gush Etzion. The program also featured recordings, film confrontations, and testimony from professionals who had accompanied the complainants over the years, building an evidentiary foundation that left little room for doubt. For extended period, allegations of severe and ritualistic sexual abuse within the religious community had been met with denials, dismissal of witnesses, and deep skepticism from within. This time, the city chose a starkly different path. The acts described, attributed among others to people from Gush Etzion, are an expression of pure evil and moral depravity that has no place in a human society, and certainly not in our community, the council's official statement read. The leadership delivered an unambiguous message to victims still afraid to speak. We wish to state in the clearest possible terms, we condemn acts of abuse and those who commit them. Sexual abuse and certainly that described as systematic and ritualistic is a heinous crime that wounds not only the victims but the entire fabric of our community. The council statement concluded with a concrete operational step, publicly listing direct phone numbers for the security hotline, welfare officials, psychologists, and dedicated helplines at sexual assault support centers. Victims were urged to reach out discreetly and immediately. Our hearts are with the victims wherever they are. The Can 11 investigation, combined with the council's formal and unprecedented acknowledgement, is now expected to trigger the reopening of previously closed police complaints and a significant expansion of the criminal investigation into what is emerging as one of the most organized and disturbing sexual abuse cases ever exposed in Israel. So, wild stuff going on over in Israel, over at the settlements. Here is Shael Ben Ephraim, who is like an anti-Zionist Jew I've seen out there. He does a lot of good work. Now, to be fair, I don't know if he actually identifies as a Jew, because I know a lot of people get caught up in that. But I think he's either Israeli. I've seen him on Scott Horton's show. I've seen him, I think, on Breaking Points too. I do think he does a good job of his coverage. But Here is his kind of recap. He says, perhaps the worst pedophilia, rape, and sexual abuse scandal in Israeli history is wrecking the West Bank settlement movement. It says a Can 11 investigation exposed a horrifying network of organized pedophilic and sadistic child abuse within the Gush Etzion settler bloc. 5 women who did not know each other provided identical testimonies, naming the same perpetrators and locations. Perpetrators carried out organized, multi-perpetrator assaults on young children in synagogues, forests, and cemeteries. A local religious leader described the systemic crimes as Sodom and Gomorrah and hell incarnate. Lead journalist Ronnie Singer categorized the ring as raw, pedophilic, and sadistic abuse. The victim recalled a local rabbi raping her and brainwashing her that her body does not belong only to her. Rabbis hold absolute power in these tight-knit communities. Perpetrators use this spiritual status to command obedience and silence victims. Community reputation took precedence over safety. Public outcry noted the core failure is not a lack of complaints. The problem is the silencing, the lack of handling complaints, and zero punishment. The West Bank Police District routinely closed files without basic investigation because local law enforcement is heavily consumed by geopolitical conflict. Severe domestic criminal networks operate unchecked in a lawless blind spot. The system of rape, abuse, and unaccountability Israel has created against Palestinians is also eating the country from within. This is what a truly sick genocidal culture does to itself. So, which is a good point it brought up there at the end. I mean, we have covered plenty the sexual violence being perpetrated on the Palestinian people by their occupiers, the Israelis. But it kind of makes you wonder what happens to even more, even the even more vulnerable among them, the children, their own children. And kind of gives a little bit of an explanatory power how these people end up being, I don't know, I guess, hurt people is the thing. So how you create a whole group of people just looking to destroy another group of people. The best way to probably do that is to destroy them themselves at a young age. So sad stuff. But more in the Epstein class, more these shifty Israelis getting away when they shouldn't. You guys may remember recently there was a story of Ori Solomon. He was a mysterious Israeli property manager linked to his legal biolab. Apparently, those charges have been dropped. So here's Sagar and Jetty says strange news out of Las Vegas. So this guy, never mind. These federal charges have been dismissed against. I'm sorry, that just repeats itself. Apparently, he's still facing a criminal charge for the improper disposal of hazardous waste. But yep, some Israeli just dropped it. Just federal charges, just gone. Just for legitimate, like planning of terrorism. It seems so interesting, although unsurprising. But this is looks like this may be something that's been around for time immemorial, unfortunately. Here is an example from RJ Morrow at Toxic Tiramisu. Figured we'd do a little bit of digging into the Guyana killing, the Jonestown massacre. Apparently there's a little bit of an unknown connection there to the old small hats that's worth digging into, especially in this context as we're talking about this kind of mixture of like espionage and like sexual degeneracy and psyop, obviously, and then a little bit of the small hats as these things all come together, in being like the Epstein class. It's like, well, let's look at the Epstein class of old, and here we are. This seems to fit that very, very same vibe. Apparently, there was the Hilltown in Guyana. Oh, let me back up real quick too. We've talked quite a bit about Jonestown. I think I even have playlists. I think I have a playlist. I think me and Austin did like a little mini series on that. But I know me and Austin at one point we found, I think it was actually Jacob, my producer, that actually found out this. There was apparently an Operation Shalom that happened, or there was a training for an Operation Shalom on that same exact location where the massacre happened. That land. Funny enough, I guess the feds owned that before they sold it to whoever had it then. I forget the specifics. But worth mentioning, got an Operation Shalom. You're like, what is this? It's classified. Well, I don't know. It may have something to do with a little bit what we're talking about here. It says Hilltown in Guyana, founded by Rabbi Hill, was formed around the same time as Jonestown. After the massacre, Hilltown residents cleared the site of shoes/unused weapons. The same rabbi who led the troop mentored the man who killed Martin Luther King's mother, Alberta King. So let's look through some of these highlighted portions of these excerpts here. I'll give this a retweet too for those who want to look even deeper into the literature that's being shared here by Toxic Tiramisu. So strangely enough, almost every map of Guyana in the major press located Jonestown at a different place following the killings. One map even shows a second site in the area called Johnstown. It says Hill has used the names Abraham, inside Guyana itself, approximately 25 miles to the south of Matthews Ridge, is a community called Hilltown, named after religious leader Rabbi Hill. Hill has used the names Abraham Israel and Rabbi Emmanuel Washington. Hilltown, set up about the same time as Jonestown, followed the departure of David Hill, who was known in Cleveland, a fugitive of the U.S. courts. Hill rules with an iron fist over some 8,000 black people from Guyana and America who believe they are the lost tribe of Israel, and the real Hebrew is a biblical prophecy. Okay. Hill says his followers would gladly kill themselves at his command, but he would survive since, unlike Jones, he is control. So that's crazy. I didn't realize. Okay, so we're digging even deeper in this. Not only is this like some small hat stuff, it's somebody who's looking like he's doing the same thing that Jones was doing, but he's saying he's doing it better in kind of a semi-neighboring location. And then you add into it, there was also before. So it looks like this is the through line of like a group. So they have these, these two locations next to each other. This Hilltown ones existed all throughout, but like I said, we had Operation Shalom. Essentially, the feds owed that land, and then at one point, I forget who bought the land, but essentially that was where then it became the base location of the Guyana cult, the Jonestown cult, or whatever. So, just I think all those three things kind of thrown in together. There's an interesting interplay there for those trying to understand what the hell is going on there. So let's keep moving. Let's read some more about this. Another important figure in the murder of Martin Luther King was his mother, Alberta. A few weeks after the first public announcement by Coretta Scott King that she believed her husband's murder was part of a conspiracy, Miss Alberta King was brutally shot to death in Atlanta while attending church services. The man convicted of shooting King's mother was Marcus Wayne Chenault. His emotional effect following the murder was unusual. Grinning, he asked if he had hit anyone. He had reportedly been dropped off at the church by people who he knew in Ohio. While at Ohio State University, he was part of a group known as The Troop, run by a black minister and gun collector who used the name Rabbi Emmanuel Israel. This man, described in the press as a mentor for Chenault, left the area immediately after the shooting. In the same period, Rabbi Hill traveled from Ohio to Guyana and set up Hilltown using similar aliases and preaching the same message of a black Hebrew elite. Chenault confided to SCLC leaders that he was one of many killers who were working to assassinate a long list of black leadership. The names he said were on this list coincide with similar death lists distributed by the KKK and linked to the COINTEL operations of the 60s. Moving on. The Rabbi Hill ran the troop at Ohio State University, where Marcus W. Chenault, convicted of murdering MLK's mother, Alberta King, was a member. Chenault then told SCLC leaders that he was one of the many assassins targeting black leaders on a list matching KKK deaths tied to COINTELPRO, which that's what we just mentioned. Rabbi Hill founded Hilltown in Guyana around the same time as Jim Jones. Okay, so I guess I thought there was chronologically it was a through line. I got that wrong. So I guess they set up about the same time. So his followers served as troops and mercenaries for President Forbes Burnham, a CIA-backed authoritarian who armed one in every 35 citizens to protect his regime. Which has so much overlap to what Jonestown's going on. So let's read this. In addition, Guyana's Prime Minister Burnham and his People's National Congress Party have become accomplished at the art of deceit, dirty tricks, covert operations, and political violence in their efforts to maintain themselves in power and privilege. The burden of this violence, fraud, and manipulation has been home to by the majority of Guyana's 827,000 are borne by the majority of Guyana's 827,000 citizens who've lashed out at each other under CIA and government-backed racial manipulation, been disenfranchised via vote fraud and election rigging, have been disenfranchised by the Jonestown affair, suffered from extreme poverty, malnutrition, and disease as a result of secretly negotiated deals between the ruling party and international lending agencies such as the IMF and World Bank, been set upon by thieves and thugs comprising the paramilitary arm of the House of Israel religious cult, and face steadily escalating official repression in society where 1 in every 35 citizens is armed by the state to protect the status quo. The sources here, by the way, are The Black Hole of Guyana by John Judge and Guyana, The Faces Behind the Masks, Covert Action Information Bulletin, issue number 10. So that's we're pulling this information from. With that, let's roll into the chat and say some more good mornings, say some more hellos, and then we'll get into our last segment of the day. We'll get into our what the fuck is going on with Hasan Piker, and then we'll get the hell out of here for today. So let's check in on you beautiful people. Hit that like button as you're running in, or as you're coming in here. Help a brother out. Boomer Senior just farted though, so he's chasing people out of the chat lobby. Check it, and the rest of you guys. Bug Fight says, Austin's Jonestown episode is really good. I never heard the CIA ties. Yeah, there are a lot of CIA ties. Tara says she does not want this to end. Well, maybe one of these days when I'm making big money, we'll turn this into like 3, 4, 5 hour streams, but we're not there yet. I got shit to do. But I'll leave you guys here in a little bit after our Hasan coverage for the weekend. Although I will give you a little bit of a parting gift, probably on Saturday or Sunday, give you another weekly Wolfson this week. Me and him talked a lot about the left side of the aisle and kind of how it's. I kind of gave it the subtitle of the episode was New Left, Same Old Tricks or something like that. Kind of the idea we have this new group of the left coming up. We also got the new group of the left coming up. We got this kind of like this progressive vibe, but then we also have these dissident right wingers out here. Many of them advocating now for voting for the Democrats or kind of finding a way to coalition with them in some way. And it's just kind of a little bit of a cautionary tale we give you about how like they may not be as controlled as the right in certain regards, but they are controlled, and don't fool yourself to thinking otherwise. Tara says, I'm trying to find a way to send you some money without it being a super chat and being robbed of half of it. That's completely fair. I don't know if you're a patron, but you always can support in the top left-hand corner. I'm not sure what Patreon, like the percentage they take, but I think it's better than the super chat percentage at least. And then you can get some perks. You can get some early episodes. You can get you can hang on the pre-show, post-show. You can join the Telegram. It'd be fun to have you join the Telegram. But yeah, with that, guys, let's get into our last segment of the day. Let's find out what the fuck is going on with Hasan Piker. Let's check in on that goofball. Now, about what was this? April 29th, so about a month ago. Actually, like basically exactly a month ago. We had this little gem come out. It says apparently Congress is set to introduce a resolution today condemning Hasan Piker for allegedly spreading anti-Semitism. This is a resolution brought by Representative Josh Gottheimer, Mike Lawler. The two received $3 million from AIPAC combined. These two representatives. I think we covered this in the past, and I think maybe we may have played some of the clips of some of the mega-based stuff Hasan said, and kind of while I'm not a commie fan generally, but it's funny, like all of these attacks by establishment on Hasan has only really served to make people like me find him more sympathetic. So this is another example, but just kind of a little bit of showing you kind of what preceded all of the stuff we're going to mostly be talking about today. But I think this plays into it. It obviously shows a targeting of sorts, it seems, of this fine fellow, Mr. Hasan. Well, the latest is apparently he's been given a subpoena. So the federal officials have issued subpoenas to Marxist political influencer Hasan Piker and Code Pink co-founder Susan Medea Benjamin as part of a wider investigation into whether U.S. organizations and leaders violated U.S. law and sanctions in supporting Cuba's communist regime, Fox News Digital has learned. Now, I mentioned this earlier at the beginning of the show, but this is crazy hilarious in a certain kind of way, in a hypocritical sort of way. In that when we covered Nick Shirley Goes to Cuba, our segment on that a while back, because Shirley went, I think, shortly after the Hasan delegation, I guess you could say, showed up to Cuba. So did Nick Shirley shortly after, and there was we kind of took the piss out of him, kind of made fun of him a little bit on the show, Nick Shirley, as we do with the Nick Shirley. And he very clearly broke quite a few laws. And I'm not saying that in a sense of like I actually want Nick Shirley to be prosecuted for not, obeying, the confusing sanction laws of the United States. But it is also kind of like, what, really? You're gonna go after Hasan Piker when it's very obvious that, fucking Shirley probably was, not even probably, he was. There were, like, for example, even just the hotel he was in, like, there were people who looked into that and were like, you can't stay at that hotel. That is linked to the Cuban government. So, therefore, it is sanctioned, and it's illegal for you to be staying there, and you could be prosecuted when you come back to the States. Now, I don't want that to happen. I don't think that Cuba should be sanctioned. So, I don't think Nick Shirley should be prosecuted for those crimes either. But I also don't think Hasan can. Now, to be fair, I do think it looks like the distinction they're probably making is probably something to do with the groups that he came with. So it's probably more of a larger, as opposed to like specific individual petty sanction crimes of some sort. They're probably more getting at some sort of larger conspiracy, and maybe conspiracy may not be the right way to put it, like a network of sorts. So there might be kind of prying at something a little bit more here. Now, this guy named Grums here kind of lays it out, I think, in a good way for us to kind of understand. He says, leftist streamer Hasan Piker was just served a subpoena by federal officials investigating his trip to Cuba. He says, here's what it means. The subpoena is request for information. They are investigating if any laws were violated by the activist trip to Cuba. They are requesting details on financing, coordination, delivery of goods and supplies, which over 20 tons reported, I guess. Contacts with Cuban government officials, any transactions involving the group. The probe examines potential violations of U.S. sanctions under the Cuban asset control regulations that prohibit unlicensed travel-related transactions, dealings with the Cuban government, which is designated a state sponsor of terrorism. This is part of a broader investigation of U.S. nonprofit and activists in the Cuba Solidarity Movement. No charges have been filed yet. So, yes, he has been subpoenaed, but no charges have been filed. This doesn't really I don't even think this really implies guilt of any sort, although I would hazard keep an eye out for the homie Tyler over Libertarian Podcast Review. I wouldn't be surprised if this is something he has either already covered or will in the future, so he may have a better idea of what all this means. But yes, no charges have been filed. This is an information gathering step. Civil penalties and possible criminal charges in the future are possible with up to $1 million in fines or prison time. This is a serious matter and will likely take a very long time to investigate. But at the very least, it does kind of look like he's being targeted. But let's kind of go down the rabbit hole with Mario Nafal, see how he's been covering. He's got a kind of a series of tweets and clips from Hasan. Figured we'd check his coverage. So it says, here's Mario Nafal. This is Hasan just responded to this Treasury subpoena over his March trip to Cuba. The American government would rather try to criminalize delivering aid to a country we've starved than punish the Epstein class. So I'm guessing that's kind of what they're getting. I'm assuming, I feel like I vaguely recall with this trip there being some sort of like aid occurrences and that like these groups coming were bringing some stuff, or so I don't know if maybe that's what they're getting at. So this could end up being even more so than just kind of the bare level hypocrisy I pointed out before. Kind of that's funny because of the Nick Shirley parallel here. But it could be even worse because they actually could be doing some actual, benevolent things here, perhaps. So, but I don't know. Maybe more will be revealed as we keep going through this. So let's dig a little bit further. Here's a clip from more from Mario Nafal that he's pulled, a little clip he's pulled here. It says Assange addressed the investigation into him by U.S. authorities after his March trip to Cuba. So let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth. I want to hear how he's characterizing. Let's check it out.
And I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's not great. The news is not great. Okay. I mean, it's bullshit, but still not great that. They're after your boy. They're up my ass. And I'll obviously get into it right now. I'll tell you all about it, but let me blast off real quick. We will free you, brother. Yeah, free me. Free me. Free me.
All right, well, that was not a whole lot there. Just him kind of addressing it. Now, it's kind of I've noticed a lot of gay commentary coming from the other right wingers here that seem to be rolling in the mud, happy about this. It just seems kind of be like dumb culture war nonsense. Like, I don't like Hasan either, but it's really hard for me to revel in this. There's not really anything funny about it. There's not even really like oh, what a hypocrite here. Like, I get it. Yeah, he has sort of supported communist regimes here and there, so I guess there is like a little bit of a, kind of push my glasses with my finger kind of Redditor vibe of like, oh, well, look at you. You're oh, well, actually, sir, don't you know communist regimes actually oppress people? Like I get it. His theory is retarded, but like, I don't know. This just seems kind of stupid. Let's see some more. Let's check this one up. Let's check out this clip. You're kind of more to my point about the right wingers giving him shit. Mario's characterizing this one as he's in full meltdown mode. And the tank you cheered for commies is now crying when the feds come knocking.
And I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's not great. The news is not great. Okay? I mean, it's bullshit, but still not great that, they're after your boy. They're up my ass.
I think Mario just did the same clip twice here, but whatever. I think there's a little bit more of the clip, though.
And I'll obviously get into it right now. I'll tell you all about it, but let me blast off real quick. Free me.
Wow, Mario, I'm sorry. That's my bad. I probably should have double-checked these clips, but I assumed that Mario wasn't going to quote tweet his tweet with a quote tweet with the same exact clip. So my bad. I assumed there was more context here. Figured we'd cover it. Sorry, that's a little redundant, but I guess I accidentally predicted the future a little bit here about how these stupid right-wingers and kind of reveling in it. That's all I got on that one. All right, let's check out some more. I've seen a lot of people kind of throw out. I've seen people tag me in this one particularly. The show that we cover here, we get into the conspiratorial stuff. There's a whole lot of Fed. Is this guy a Fed? Is that guy a Fed? I mean, anytime we have something like this, like the establishment coming, attacking somebody, you have the instinctual, like, you do kind of want to come to the support here of like, hey, the establishment's going after somebody trying to do something generally kind of good. They're coming after you for bullshit reasons. You always got to be a little bit concerned. Is there some sort of, is this situation glowing? Is there some sort of controlled op of sorts occurring here? Well, I've had a number of you guys tag me in this. Apparently, Hasan Piker used to work for the DHS. I have not watched this clip. Once again, I'd like to remind you guys, this is an info dump show. We go through this together. So let's watch this clip. We'll find out. I mean, is that really something to be too concerned about? Hasan supposedly working at DHS. Maybe we'll find out some more context of what that means. Let's check this out.
Name a time when you confronted someone or you told someone off. Haas.
So when I was in college, this is more of a confrontation story, but when I was in college, I was working on a program called Cicada with the Department of Homeland Security, the Command Control Interoperability Center of Advanced Data Analysis.
Wow.
Okay. All right. I didn't even finish this clip, but I do got to say, I was actually really expecting to like kind of roll my eyes this one and be like, oh, he worked at DHS. Like, what did he do? And he just right off the jump comes out talking about Cicada. So, all right. Well, all right. Let's keep going.
And you have some fancy-ass titles.
Yeah, I know. It was like a mathematician, like a group of mathematicians, whatever. I'm not going to get too far into it. But, and the team of math professors that are working with the government, that their website sucked, because that was kind of what we were like supposed to be doing. We were doing marketing and communications for that entire program, and he was very upset. But I had to like get up, and because he was talking about how like the website's fine, whatever. We need to shift our focus to other stuff, and I had to get up and literally be like, no, the website's not fine. And we did end up changing it, so that's good. But All right,
I gotta watch the first 10 seconds of that again, because that really did take me by surprise. Let's check this out. Let's just get Hasan's like what he said he did here. What?
So when I was in college, this is more of a confrontation story, but when I was in college, I was working on a program called Cicada with the Department of Homeland Security, the Command Control Interoperability Center of Advanced Data Analysis.
Wow,
and
you have some fancy-ass titles.
Yeah, I know. It was like a mathematician, like a group of mathematicians, whatever. I'm not going to get too far into it, but and the team of math professors that are working with the government, that their website sucked, because that was kind of what we were supposed to be doing. We were doing marketing and communications.
Okay. All right. Well, I looked up real quick cicada, the thing you talked about, to kind of give us an idea. Maybe this will make it a little bit less spooky as we look at it. But yeah, that sounded like some spooky glowy shit. Let's check this out. So this is the site right here,ccicada.org. It's Command, Control, and Interoperability Center for Advanced Data Analysis. It says using advanced data analysis to protect the American people from natural and man-made threats. See if there's any about here. About us, the Command, Control, and Interoperability Center for Advanced Data Analysis was founded as a U.S. Department of Homeland Security University Center of Excellence and is led by Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. It uses advanced data analysis and systems to address natural and man-made threats to the safety and security of the American people. Its work is carried out by researchers and students with 17 partner institutions. Okay, we got a number of different articles and stuff. We're trying to see if there's anything else worthwhile. This is just a landing page we're looking at here. Well, okay, this is, I guess, a project that he worked on, which I guess, as I worked with the military, I was part of a chain of murder in a sense. So, I don't know if he necessarily glows any more than I do in that regard, but this is weird. It's worth knowing. I'll say that. Moving on, let's check in. Apparently, I've seen a lot of people. I've seen this shared a number of times. People going out it looks like Hasan's. Maybe Hasan could get Mamdani to help him. I guess there was some sort of bromance of sorts between those two, between Mamdani and Hasan. So this is Hasan's take on whether he'll be able to get Mamdani in there to help his ass out.
As well, you might need Zoran Magic for this one. Yeah, okay, dude. Yeah. I don't think Zoran Mamdani is going to be doing that anytime soon, because I'm not a concerning incident that took place in the New York City region of America. You know what I mean? Highly doubt it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe.
All right. Like I said at the beginning, this is a ham-fisted way to just segue into something I've wanted to cover but never really had a good reason to yet. Essentially Mamdani's mommy showing up in the Epstein files. So probably a good thread to kind of figure that, to kind of go over this, is a para-power mapping thread here at Clonnie Pin Gosh. Starting off, let's check out his first tweet. And it says that they kind of set this off. He says, calmly awaiting my vindication when the people reducing this to Trump just loves a winner, especially when he has the hots for them, get egg on their fucking faces as it becomes blatantly obvious the thawed relations are because of assurances Zoran made in regards to the NYPD and the NYP/IDF and then Tish and Israel. And what he's showing here is a picture of Donald Trump's True Social, one of his True Social posts, of a series of pictures of him and Mamdani, which people may remember a while ago. Mamdani went to the White House, and a lot of people were expecting some sort of fisticuffs to occur, but instead, actually, what we got was weirdly kind of a friendly reception between the two of them. Kind of seemed like old homies. You know, if anything, it seemed like Trump was almost fawning over the guy. And, by the way, we mentioned Mamdani a good amount in my recent Wolfson. For those who want to check that out, I'll be dropping this weekend. Patrons, it's already out there. But then he went and quote tweeted this and kind of said, hey guys, just coming here to apologize. I read this completely wrong. Trump and Zoran aren't buddies because of the Israel-related quid pro quos. They're buddies because Mamdani's mommy is part of the Epstein-Maxwell network. And what he's sharing here is an actual Epstein file. Now I don't have the he has cut off the specific EFTA number or whatever, but take our word for it here. So it's to JEE Vacation at Gmail, the Jeffrey Epstein email. It says from Peggy Siegel on Wednesday, was October 21st, 2009. That's the year I graduated high school. Just left Ghislaine's townhouse. After party for film. Bill Clinton and Jeff Bezos were there. Gene Pigozzi, director Mira Nair, etc. Now, Mira Nair, that's Mom Donnie's mom. Film received tepid reaction, although women like it much more. Hilary Swank and Gere at stupid party in Bloomingdale's. We put a hamster up his ass. I'm just kidding, seeing if you guys are paying attention. He didn't say that, but Richard Gere was at the party. Very weird. Studio went for free party from store in Windows for a month. Going to be in Wall Street tomorrow. More to come. XOXO Peg. Continuing on, he says, it appears that Epstein himself was invited to attend the 2010 Independent Filmmaker Project Spring Gala a year later, for which Zoran's directorial Madre Mira Nair was part of the host committee or a chairperson or something. And so he's sharing a few more Epstein files to show this one out. Now, this one right here is for those who do want to get the research and track. This one's EFTA 024-25345. This is one of three. These are one of these email ones that are hard to keep track of. So you see the back and forth there. Well, they're just it seems like they're just naming the people in there. I don't need to read these off to you, but it looks like this is just naming some of these people that are in it. Let me see. You guys see the listing of the people. And so I guess we'll just assume, or you see Hugh Jackman, for example, in here is one of the guys. Seth Meyers, Zachary Quinto. These are names, obviously, Uma Thurman, Rachel Weisz. Just naming some of the more prolific names you may recognize. Those are the actor host committee. It says invite you to join them at the spring gala, yada, yada, yada. So it's kind of this like invitation email, all the different names of the people in there. And here's Mira Nair, so the mother. So showing that she was, let me see if I can figure out what she was. She was part of they're listing her as the director host committee for this thing that Epstein was invited to. So that's another spot her name shows up. Looks like Mira was at the same screening as Epstein in 2018, a decade after he was convicted of sex crimes. Also worth noting that this particular film is, if I recall correctly, about a lesbian relationship within the Orthodox Jewish community. So that's wonderful. And he's in for that one with the private screening one. He's quote tweeting one of his previous emails on this. Says, "Hey, New York City Mayor, are you aware that your mom went to a private screening of Disobedience that Epstein also attended in 2018 and also invited Epstein to an independent filmmaker project gala as part of the director host committee nearly a decade earlier?" And here is another one of these Epstein files. I don't have an EFTA number for you guys here, but this is from Jeffrey to Andres Fernandez and Peggy Siegel. Subject, disobedience. Says, please, let me see, sorry. Where do I start on this? Says, hi, Jeffrey. Let us know if you can attend. Says, please come to the Celeste Bartos Theater at the Museum of Modern Art. Yada, yada, yada. And it names all the people in there. Pasta supper celebration follows. Other confirmed friends include Paul Bettany, Jennifer Connelly. I'm just naming off some of the prolific names that people might remember. Jeremy Irons. Mira Nair, obviously the mother that we're talking about here. Steven Soderbergh, that name sounds familiar. Michael Shannon, that's Zod. Martha Stewart, Naomi Watts, other people in there that I don't recognize their names. Disobedience was directed by Sebastian Lelio and written by Lelio and Rebecca Lenkowitz. The film is based on Naomi Alderman's book of the same title. It follows a rabbi's daughter, who's Rachel Weisz, living in New York and working as a photographer as she returns to the Orthodox Jewish community in London that shunned her decades earlier for her attraction to a childhood friend, Rachel McAdams, who was married to a rabbi, Alessandro Nivola. Once back, their passions reignite as they explore the boundaries of faith and sexuality. It says, Disobedience was shown at the Toronto Film Festival and received rave reviews for Alessandra, Rachel Weisz and Rachel McAdams' performances. Please join Alessandro and Emily and Rachel and Daniel for a really fun night. XOXO Peggy. Jeffrey responds, says, yes, thanks, me +1. So him saying, looking like he did attend that. So that was my ham-fisted way of finally addressing some of the Mamdani related Epstein files just for funsies. I hope you guys enjoyed it. With that, guys, we're going to get out of here. We'll catch you back next week, probably around Monday or so, given we don't run into any issues like we did this week. We should be back. But for those who want to support what I'm doing, leave a like, share. I got to run through the chat one more time. I don't know why. I forgot to do this yesterday too. Run through the chat one last time. Let's run through the chat one last time, and then I'll do all the plugs and all that stuff, and we'll play the outro and get out of here. So let's check in. Tara says, I just joined your Patreon. Hell yeah. Good to have you there. I'll have to put the Telegram link back into the Telegram because it doesn't allow me to put it anywhere permanently. So keep an eye out. It should be dropping the Telegram. I'd like to see you in there hanging out with the rest of the community. I do enjoy the Telegram. But I appreciate the support. Hope to see you in the pre-show and post-show for Already Dead as well. I see you in the chat quite frequently. Mustache chiming in with the Jews. So that's nice. Tara is telling us about this guy abuses his dog. Yeah, see, I feel like we've talked about it in the past, but yeah, there was a little controversy about what looked like Hasan was torturing his dog with an electric collar, keeping it in the corner, basically using it as a prop, and essentially anytime it moved, just shock it, or tried to move, just like kind of subtly, where you can't see it, shocking. And so the dog just kind of, so while you think, oh, what an adorable, well-behaved dog, just sitting in his little, meanwhile, he's just like, frozen with fear and like, I can't move or else I'll be electrocuted. So yeah. Good morning, Expose Them All. Essentially, it looks like he's spamming my chat with some links. Cool. Hope people check that out. Let me see. Good morning, Auburn. This is Indiana Jones looking ass. Hasan Solo. Am I right? Yep. Good morning, Aggressive. Says he was part of the comms team. That's a retard just trying to market something they probably don't understand. So okay, it's a good way to look at it. Yeah, the marketing team. I guess it can't be too glowy. Let me see. Q Bertimo says John Black told me to call him a faggot and a fuck nigga last night, so I did, although I don't believe it to be true. Okay, fair enough. You're owning up to your side of the things, so that's good. You always got to keep your word. I love that beautiful bastard. We will mention his name in a second as we're getting out of here. For those who like what I'm doing over here, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well. If you want to support the show the best way you can do that with money over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. You can also see in the top left-hand corner here is a little QR code. That'll take you to the same place as that URL I just gave you. But a low level $2, you get a whole host of perks. You get access to early episodes. We're about 1 to 2 of those per week. Try to keep about 3 to 4 of them behind the paywall at any given time. Also give you guys access to ad-free RSS feed. Give you guys access to Telegram, the pre-show, the post-show, and video calls on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead. Also give a big shout out to the highest on my Patreon. It's a big thank you for their support. And my previous ghosts and tagging at Learn Toad, also at Brigade D's, at ZOVRCK, at _Vizeel, Tim Tell, at John Klebo, big fan of the show, Torn May, at Wayne Tech, this morning, Cover Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Wintergrad, the Biblical Anarchy Podcast, and John Black, that beautiful bastard. And with that, guys, we got a fun outro for you guys. We got another fun little kitty video. I love these. We'll see you guys in the next one. Enjoy this one. Enjoy this wholesome beauty of an outro I have for y'all. The caption here is huge fan of whatever the fuck is going on here, and I am too. I hope you are. See you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Love you all. Bye-bye. I fucked it up. I didn't have the screen up. 1 second. I had it all. I thought I had everything go. All right, we'll see you in the next one.